Hello, everybody. Welcome and welcome, Alex. So, firstly, let me introduce you to Alex, who is our favorite hooligan, I believe, as you're known. Alex, come and say hi to us.
Hey everyone, hey Jane. Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great to be here.
So, Huel is a company that probably doesn't need a lot of introduction. Certainly, many of us in ThoughtSpot survive off the Huel protein bars. But just give us a little bit. What are Huel? What do you do?
Every Huel meal basically has a balance of 26 essential vitamins and minerals. It's kind of like the complete meal in one sitting, and it's obviously designed to be convenient, good for people and the planet.
Tell us a little bit more about you, about your role.
So I'm the lead data analyst here at Huel. I've been here for over 5 years now. So I've seen a lot of change at Huel, both within the team and just generally in the company. But yeah, one key thing that I was obviously involved in was helping roll out ThoughtSpot in 2022, and then all the changes that have happened within the team since then.
Tell us some of the challenges that the data team had when you joined, and why ThoughtSpot helped you with those.
Yes, I would say that a lot of the things that we were doing pre-ThoughtSpot was we were doing quite a lot of dashboard maintenance. Probably we were handling a lot of frequently quite small stakeholder tickets as well. As well, another thing with all of those tickets that we were getting, it was like we were a bit of a bottleneck to the other teams to just get their analysis through. And obviously, if they just wanted quite a menial, small change to a dashboard, even though that itself could be quite a quick thing to do, because of the vast amount of tickets that we'd have on that, it meant that it might take them a while to just get quite a small change.
What does it mean in your world in retail when things are time consuming, when they do take a long time?
Obviously, you want to be able to be reactive to those smaller tickets and help everyone understand how we're trading week on week, but then we also don't want to sacrifice those bigger questions that we were dealing with. So I think it meant generally we were just a bit slower to react to trading, and it gave us less time to focus on some of the bigger questions, which would really help drive the company forward and give us that strategic view.
So how do the Huel team use ThoughtSpot now?
Yeah, so I guess we're looking at Huel like we have a very strong data-driven culture. A lot of people use data at Huel. We have like a 60% of our Huel employees use ThoughtSpot, that includes people in our MK site working on the warehouse. So like that, we wouldn't necessarily expect them to use it all. So like our adoption rate's really high. We're very thankful for that, and that's because basically we have a use case for pretty much every team to use ThoughtSpot, and they all have their own reasons why they might use it. And then also the great thing is that we're very transparent as a company internally. So if you work in a particular team, it doesn't mean that you're just going to be siloed to the data that your team can see. There might be some value in you being able to see our general trading data or our performance marketing or our complaints data, and you can access all of that. It's not just necessarily just being able to see one thing. Our performance marketing, probably our biggest, if not one of our biggest adopters of ThoughtSpot. They practically live on ThoughtSpot, making sure that our campaigns are like running as they should be, and like we have incredibly granular data that they can dig into in ThoughtSpot and spend like vast amounts of time basically just being able to get our performance marketing as best as it can be. And then obviously a more recent one, an example is our sales team, as I mentioned, getting stock on shelves. Basically, an example of that is we have our vending machines. You might have seen them like in airports, train stations. So we have data on them, which ones are functioning, which ones are not functioning, how we're basically making sure that they have the right levels of stock in them, and then beyond that, like how well they're actually performing. So we can see where there's opportunity to particularly like, let's say that we're doing well in airports, which airports are doing well, where can we basically expand.
I love to hear this, Alex, because when you talked about how everyone can access data from across the company, not just their own domains, that really rewards curiosity. It rewards people working with data. And 60% adoption it's incredibly high. It's much higher than the average. So this all sounds great to me. I want to work at Huel. Before we start setting me up with a Huel email address, let's could you walk me through maybe if something comes to mind, something specific that ThoughtSpot revealed to you, which you probably wouldn't have with traditional, it would have been buried had you had more traditional reporting?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think one of my favorite success stories at Huel is the operations, like supply chain team. Basically, when I joined, a lot of their data was spreadsheet heavy, which obviously was very manual, very cumbersome. Basically made it hard to like generate levels of insight. It was more there for like the very top level reporting and keeping our production in tow, basically, but not necessarily being able to be that reactive to how if things were if we're in a tight scenario, we needed to turn things around quickly. It wouldn't really let us do that because it's all across tens of spreadsheets, obviously very big ones, very big loading times sometimes, which is quite painful, quite painful over people's shoulders. So a nice example I like to think about from that one. So we basically moved what was their availability outlook. So we had our new COO come in a few years ago, Reuven. He was wanting to bring that new data-driven approach. He was originally asking his team, like, do we have an availability metric to see how available our product is to our customers? We wanted to start with just on our website, to which we didn't. And what happened was we started, one person in the supply chain was spending a few hours every week, basically just doing a manual report to get our availability, which was obviously then a day late, but also just for that week. It was like quite a large compiled view of that, not too granular. Basically, what we were able to do is move that into ThoughtSpot and basically give a live view of what's available on the site, what isn't. But more importantly, sort of like flag what's the most important thing to be in stock, so that if something does go out of stock or something we think might come out of stock soon, where we can prioritize that production. So, as a recent example, a production planner can see it's flagged to them something's going to potentially go out of stock in X days because we did well in the performance marketing campaign that drove up the sales of that product more than we thought it would. Therefore, we need to bring forward production, move raw materials from what was going to go into the production of one product into a different one. And then that basically meant that we were able to circumvent that issue and keep our key product in stock.
Slightly switch gears, Alex. So if we think about the new role of data analysts, self-serve is something that has changed analytics teams. It is changing them. How have things evolved for your data team?
Yeah, so I think obviously I said before we were getting quite a few small, frequent stakeholder tickets, and we didn't know really where to prioritize our time, or if we did, it was very much a trade-off between big tickets, small tickets. So I think now, so I was looking at this just yesterday. So we've seen about a 50% reduction, 50 to 60% reduction in our stakeholder tickets, and what that's generally meant is those sort of like smaller tickets, and then anything analytically like sort of easier to intermediate level analytics was basically more or less covered by ThoughtSpot, by being able to train people up. So that's basically freed up a lot of our time to work on some of the challenging business problems, and it allowed the team to get really involved in the strategy of the business and work with senior members within the company to like really help them, whilst being able to like essentially empower a lot of our business users to use ThoughtSpot to their own capabilities. Basically, obviously, how we do that more is that means we have spent time, which to be honest I really enjoy, like training a lot of new people at Huel and people who have been here a while, just like keeping them on track with the new updates on ThoughtSpot and just making sure that they're like able to use it to its best ability. Because then obviously once they are data literate, that means that we have hundreds of data analysts rather than just 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your team have almost become consultants into the business, and you've scaled analysts without scaling analysts, which is very cool. But I want to just dive a little deeper. So that's clear how your team have changed and their roles changed. How about you? What's changed for you?
We all know that the tech world's changing a lot at the moment with AI. We're able to invest time into learning AI, like making sure that we're sort of like figureheads in our company for understanding it, being able to use it to answer data questions, and obviously just being from like a more technical area, just being able to help move that shift in the company to be AI driven. We've been doing that, or I've been doing that specifically using some building certain AI data products. So our CTO Ollie has basically been encouraging me to build as many data products as we can that do specific roles that might be very niche to us at Huel. One interesting one that we're working on at the moment, and Ollie's talked about a lot on LinkedIn. If you want to go and follow him on there and have a look at what he's talking about, but something called the trading supercomputer. Basically, we are trying to build something that sort of autonomously uses multiple agents to work out where we might be seeing certain patterns or certain shifts, in making recommendations to our senior members about how we can potentially move money around, or like make strategic changes so that we can drive more revenue, basically. So some really interesting projects going on.
What's your number one piece of advice based on the journey you've been on, the changes you've driven, the work you've overseen?
So I think just investing that time in training individuals, getting them up to speed, especially if there's a new BI tool, like just really trying to drive that culture. Whether that's like we do a lot of team focus sessions or general onboarding sessions, just to get people up to speed. I think that's so useful to be able to do, and obviously we've had ThoughtSpot help us with that over the years to make sure that that's like the best training we can get. So yeah, I think that's just like upfront. Essentially, it's just such a good way to get like a long-term gain from like short-term, just like spending that time, investing that time into other people.
Good stuff, into the fabric of your culture. You've shared so much with us. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap us up for today. It was brilliant speaking to you.
Thank you very much.